Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a challenge that, well, so many of you learning English tell us, keeps you up at night. Understanding fast native speakers, it can feel less like language and more like a chaotic, fast-moving wall of sound, right?
Absolutely. That textbook English, with its clear pronunciation and measured pace, it's worlds away from the blur you hear on the street or like in movies without subtitles.
Or just chatting with friends, yes.
Exactly. There's the speed, the connected speech, the slang. It's a whole different ballgame.
And the source material for this deep dive is, well, it's a fantastic guide through that exact challenge. We have this narrative, a story following one learner, Lily,
Right.
as she steps headfirst into this problem by moving to New York City.
And it's not just academic, It's a really practical account of one person's real world experience. It's laid out almost like a roadmap, really.
Yeah, with practical strategies and these crucial mindset shifts that, anyone can apply to their own learning journey.
Things you can actually do.
Our mission in this deep dive is to really unpack Lily's experience, to pull out those core nuggets of wisdom, the how and why behind her breakthroughs, and show you exactly how she trained her ears and her brain.
To not just hear the sounds.
Right, but to truly understand fast, authentic English, get ready to dive into the initial struggles, the surprising moments of progress, and finding the unexpected joy in learning the real music of the language.
The music, I like that.
So the story begins with Lily arriving in New York, and she's feeling pretty confident. Years of studying, solid grammar, aced exams.
Yeah, she could follow slow movies. She really thought she was ready.
But that first encounter with the real city, oof, immediate reality check.
The source describes it so well. The security guard mumbling greetings she just couldn't decipher at all.
Completely missing the punchline of a taxi driver's joke.
And that universal moment at the coffee shop counter. We've all been there, maybe.
Oh, the coffee shop moment where the barista hits her with, "For here to go," and she just blanks, right? Blurting out, yeah.
Yeah. That feeling of a simple transaction becoming totally overwhelming is just instantly relatable.
It perfectly encapsulates that initial, communication breakdown.
And the subway experience sounds even more intense. The source really paints a vivid picture of sensory overload there.
It wasn't just the sheer speed, though, was it? It was the texture of the language on the subway.
Exactly. People weren't just talking fast. They were using slang. What you doing? Gotta catch the L.
Kind of sketchy. And the way words just run together, sometimes not even fully pronounced.
Yeah, slurring together. Lily felt like she'd landed on a different planet linguistically.
And that moment of feeling defeated is palpable in the source whispering to herself, "I'll never understand them."
Is that wall of sound just making you question your whole ability,
But there's a turning point. She remembers her teacher's advice.
Right, the teacher who emphasized understanding native speakers takes more than grammar. It takes listening, time, and patience.
Don't just study English, live it. That shifts something fundamental for Lily.
It certainly does. And it leads to that crucial commitment she actually writes down.
Yes, I will understand fast English speakers. I will not give up. That simple, determined statement really marks the start of her, active fight back.
It moves her from being a passive student to an active participant in her own learning. And the first thing she does is make a plan specifically for real-world training.
Moving beyond the safety of textbooks.
Totally.
Her initial step is podcasts, which makes a lot of sense. Starting with slower ones, yeah, but quickly moving to faster native speaker podcasts about everyday life.
And the source emphasizes she didn't just listen.
No.
She actively engaged. That's the key distinction, isn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't background noise.
Right. She would pause, Look up unfamiliar words or phrases.
And crucially, re-listen to sections multiple times. That repetition and focused attention are just vital for training the ear to recognize those sounds.
And then she adds shadowing, repeating sentences out loud right after the speaker.
Which feels so weird at first.
Oh, yeah. The source notes how awkward and clumsy it felt initially, almost like her mouth wasn't connected to her brain.
But that awkwardness is a sign it's working. Shadowing helps build the muscle memory for the rhythm and flow of native speech, how words link together.
You start to feel the language physically.
Exactly, which is different from just processing it cognitively.
And she took that into real life, initiating small talk at coffee shops, chatting with dog walkers in the park. The source highlights her starting to listen not just for words, but for the music of the language.
The rise and fall, the pauses where stress falls in a sentence, focusing on that music is huge.
Why is that so important?
Because it helps you predict and understand meaning, even if you miss a word. It's like the melody carries the feeling, you know?
Okay. And her no subtitles rule for videos. That sounds painful.
Yeah, it's a bold move. Forcing herself to watch without reading, accepting she wouldn't catch everything.
But the source shows how this built resilience, and it allowed her to celebrate those small breakthroughs, that moment when she did get a sentence, like, I got that.
That incremental success is so motivating. And the source describes a clear shift after just a month of this focused, consistent practice.
What kind of shift?
Well, she answers a tourist question without the usual internal translation process. She chats easily with her roommate's friend.
The core realization was massive then. She wasn't translating word by word in her head anymore. She was moving towards direct understanding.
It wasn't magic. It was a direct outcome of consistent, purposeful training.
It really demystifies fluency, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows it's not about innate talent, but a skill built brick by brick, or maybe note by note, through deliberate practice and exposure.
Okay, so the source then escalates the challenge considerably, takes her to a dinner party.
Oh, boy.
Her roommate, Ava, gives her this heads up that's both kind and terrifying.
Yeah. My friends talk fast, like really fast. Don't stress. Just jump in when you can.
That's like nightmare fuel for a learner.
Totally. This is a common fear amplified not just listening, but trying to follow and participate in rapid-fire group conversation, where people overlap, interrupt.
And the source introduces Ava's friends, James, Megan, Paul, Rachel, each with their own unique speaking rhythm.
Right, from slang heavy to dry humor and sarcasm. Real mix.
The source vividly describes the conversation as a pinball machine.
That's a great image. Words bouncing around quickly, layers overlapping. Lily's initial strategy is understandable. Sit on the edge, smile, try to catch anything, just survive.
But she actively applies her training here. What was the core strategy?
Don't panic. That's step one. Instead, pick out keywords. Use those keywords in the context to guess the meaning.
Okay.
And crucially, ask if needed. The source gives the example of James's story. She catches walk in, 5 hours, grab a bite.
Right, just fragments.
Yeah, and by piecing those together, she guesses he left work for food and was gone way too long. She got the gist without getting every single word.
That ability to get the gist from context and keywords is a huge leap, isn't it?
Massive. And her courage to ask for clarification, like asking what totally wiped means, and then connecting it to her own experience, like walking 10 blocks in summer. That makes the interaction feel real, and it solidifies the learning.
That vulnerability in asking is actually a strength.
Absolutely. And the source highlights a major shift in her approach here. She stops trying to understand every single word.
What does she focus on instead?
More on the overall rhythm, the body language, the tone. noticing the pauses, the eyebrow raises, the hand gestures that emphasize points.
Yes, learning each person's individual conversational music.
Exactly. James's expressive gestures, Paul's frequent, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Megan's use of metaphors, Rachel's emphasis with literally,
It's less like deciphering a code.
and more like learning to dance by being on the dance floor, not by reading a manual.
And then she takes the leap and joins in, tells her own story about getting lost on the subway.
Yeah, and the source notes her timing of the punchline, showing her growing feel for that conversational rhythm. Everyone laughed, not just politely, but because she actually landed it.
Ava's affirmation afterward is so important for reinforcing that progress. You did amazing tonight. You kept going. That's what matters.
It underscores that participation trumps perfection. Every time.
Her journal entry after this reflects that breakthrough. English isn't just about words, it's about people.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Understanding fast English isn't solely about processing speed. It's about feeling the flow, connecting with the people, and becoming part of the conversation itself.
Okay, moving forward. The source notes that even with her progress, after 3 months, English still feels like a secret club, especially when it comes to
Slang and idioms, oh yeah.
And this is where real-life immersion becomes the ultimate teacher, right?
Totally. At a street fair, she hears, "These tacos are fire." And the confusion leads to learning it means really good.
Or overhearing teenagers declare, "She totally ghosted me," and figuring out that means disappearing without a word.
The source lists more idioms she encountered. On cloud nine, spill the tea, hit the books.
Broke the bank, feeling blue, pulling someone's leg. So many.
But the anecdote about the jewelry vendor is just a perfect illustration of the idiom challenge.
Oh yes, the vendor saying, "flying off the shelves."
In Lily, picturing earrings with actual wings. It highlights how literal translation is completely useless with idioms.
But the vendor's response is so kind.
Yeah, English is weird. Even native speakers mess it up sometimes. That's such a validating moment, normalizing the confusion.
That vendor's comment is a gift, really. And the panic when Ava's friend on video chat asks, "What's your deal?"
Right, only to learn it just means, "What's your story?" or "What are you up to?" That awkwardness transforms into a moment of shared laughter and learning.
So she smartly starts a list she calls weird English, but useful.
Adding phrases like fire and ghosted. And critically, she adds a reminder to herself, don't be afraid to ask and laugh a lot.
That mindset is crucial, turning those potentially embarrassing moments into learning opportunities.
Yeah, Googling phrases like, let's touch base. Actively asking people to explain idioms.
And being able to laugh at her own mistakes, like saying, "It's on my laser," instead of "It's on my radar" at work.
That laser mistake is gold. It shows that even people who speak fluently aren't perfect. They just navigate mistakes with more ease and often humor.
So slang and idioms become less like obstacles.
And more like intricate steps in the conversational dance she's learning. To the point where she starts using phrases herself like, "Girl, this is fire."
Her journal entry from this period really captures this shift. Every idiom I learn is a new key, a new window, a new way to belong.
She realizes slang isn't just extra words, it's part of the cultural rhythm and a way to feel more connected.
Okay, so the source then presents what it calls the ultimate listening test.
The subway. Alone.
Navigating the New York subway system alone. It's described as a brutal, real-world environment. Blended sounds, dozens of fast speakers, no visual cues beyond signs, 0 subtitles.
It sounds incredibly intimidating. The source describes the overwhelming chaos, the rumbling trains, the screeching brakes.
Those lightning-fast interactions like, "Excusing Jet, but you dropped my card, thanks," where catching the meaning feels almost impossible.
And the announcements over the crackly speakers. Stand clear at the closing doors, please. Next stop, 14th Street. Just a sonic blur.
She overhears teenagers and makes notes, whispering to herself, I need subtitles for life.
Which is probably exactly how anyone in that situation feels. That feeling of wishing for subtitles in real life is so real.
But she doesn't freeze. She keeps moving, transferring trains, checking signs, and she bravely asks a woman next to her if the train stops at Eastern Parkway.
And gets the answer, plus that simple, incredibly helpful clue, just listen for the bing.
That little bing clue is a perfect example of how native speakers often provide subtle cues or keywords that help non-native speakers orient themselves in that torrent of sound.
So she starts focusing on rhythm and those predictable keywords. Next stop, transfer. Last stop, remembering Ava's advice.
What was that again?
You don't need to catch every word, just enough to stay in the game.
Even amidst the din, she picks up another phrase from a loud passenger. Watch your bags. People be stepping all over 'em. Learning it means trip over nothing.
She's actively learning even in chaos. By the time she arrives at her stop, the source notes she's sweating not from the heat, but from the intense mental effort.
But she made it.
Yes. Her journal entry calls the subway the ultimate test, but she listened, asked, guessed, and successfully navigated it.
And the core insight she gains from this experience is profound, isn't it?
Yeah. Listening isn't just hearing, it's noticing, feeling, guessing, and trying again. It's an active, multi-layered process that goes way beyond simply decoding sounds.
Reporting back to Ava, terrifying, loud, fast, and amazing, shows she found a sense of accomplishment even in the struggle.
Surviving the subway ordeal definitely prepares her for the next big step, a real-life conversational challenge at a park hangout.
Ava explicitly frames it as such. You're ready for a real-life conversation.
Which still sounds nerve-wracking.
Understandably, she's still nervous, even humorously rehearsing a mental plea. Please speak like a human and not like a race car. We've all felt that.
Yeah. The source describes her arrival as walking into a warm, noisy wave of greetings and immediate fast group chatter.
But she's open about the difficulty, acknowledging to a friend it's hard, fast.
And the friends are welcoming and understanding. They find common ground quickly by talking about the difficulty of learning English.
Sharing relatable experiences with mumbling speakers or movie dialogues, even joking about how Boston accents are the boss level of fast English.
That's great. This interaction allows her to relax a bit and realize she's grasping the meaning and the vibe, even when individual words zip past.
And she starts making mental notes of phrases like boss level and mumble.
And she starts contributing, sharing her own stories, including mentioning an upcoming phone interview.
Ooh, foreshadowing.
Clever, right?
Yeah.
The source notes the group's positive reaction. They listen attentively and, importantly, start asking her questions, often slowing their pace slightly for her.
That moment of the group adjusting their pace and focusing on her is incredibly validating.
Totally. Telling her subway story and having people laugh kindly makes her feel truly seen and included. Being told explicitly that she speaks well provides a huge boost of confidence.
Ava's observation after that evening really nails the breakthrough. You were part of it. Real conversations aren't about perfect English. They're about connecting.
Her journal entry captures this beautifully resonant feeling. Today I had my first fast conversation. I didn't freeze. I didn't panic.
I didn't get every word, but I got the feeling. It felt like music. Not every note is clear, but the meaning is strong.
She understands that staying in the conversation, staying in the circle, is the true goal, not achieving perfect comprehension of every single sound.
This momentum leads her to take on another deliberate challenge described in the source. The coffee shop deep dive.
Right. Visiting a peak Brooklyn cafe alone, trendy, busy, fast baristas, confusing menu, local buzz.
This environment is designed to test all her skills at once: listening, predicting, asking, navigating social interaction.
The chalkboard specials, Maple Shaker, Mocha Thunder, are designed to make her feel out of place. The line moves fast, and the barista's speech, "Hey, what can I get for you?" is that rapid-fire greeting.
The source details her practicing her simple order beforehand. "Hi, I'd like a small oat milk latte, hot, please."
Successfully delivering it is a small but significant victory in that stressful environment.
But, as always, there are unexpected challenges. The barista throws in questions like, "You want a shot in that?" or "Keep it mellow."
Right. This is where she has to stop, ask for clarification, and learn specific coffee shop slang. Shot, meaning an extra espresso shot.
And mellow, meaning just the regular coffee. It reinforces that asking is a necessary tool.
And while waiting, she's actively listening, overhearing conversations, picking up more slang, ghosted, and then show up like it's all chill in my DMs.
She recognizes ghosted from before and correctly guesses DMs means direct messages, adding these to her running list.
And of course, the classic New York name mix-up happens, being called Lenny instead of Lily.
But the source notes her feeling okay about it after pointing it out, especially with the barista's friendly, understanding response. Must misheard. Happens all the time.
That normalization of small errors is so powerful.
She sits outside, coffee in hand, feeling proud. Her journal entry perfectly captures the blend of humor and accomplishment. "My name became Lenny, but I got the latte."
And she creates her useful coffee shop vocabulary list.
The key takeaway she articulates from this experience is vital for anyone learning, I think.
What's that?
Sometimes fast English isn't about understanding, it's about asking back, clarifying, and not being afraid to say, "What does that mean?"
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's a realization that you don't need instant, perfect comprehension. Curiosity, the willingness to ask, and trusting yourself are more important than catching every word the first time.
The source then takes us to a moment of unexpected learning born from, well, frustration.
Not getting lost.
Her phone dies, the map freezes, she's alone, no digital crutches.
That moment of vulnerability is often when unexpected connections happen. She hears music, follows it, and finds Charles, a saxophone player in a park.
His kind, slower voice is a stark contrast to the city's usual pace. Asking him for directions helps her get oriented.
But her genuine compliment about his music opens the door to a deeper conversation. She shares that she's learning English and feels like finding new words is like discovering treasure.
Charles offers a truly insightful perspective, validating her efforts. He tells her his pace is just from age and playing jazz.
And reinforces that the best way to learn is through talking, messing up, laughing, and trying again. He shares his own experience learning Spanish through music and asking questions, showing that this process is universal.
She asks him about a specific phrase she's heard, "I feel you."
And his explanation goes beyond a simple definition. He explains it means, "I understand you," or "I relate to what you're saying," adding, "It's not about touch, it's about connection."
That's such a beautiful, nuanced explanation that adds depth to her understanding of common phrases. She immediately adds it to her notebook.
They discuss what makes fast English so hard, not just the speed, but the unpredictability, the slang, sentences turning in unexpected directions.
And Charles uses that perfect analogy. Spoken English is like jazz.
Unpredictable, fast, full of improvisation. You don't need to follow every single note or chord change. With practice, you learn to feel the rhythm, the underlying pulse.
That analogy is incredibly powerful for reframing the challenge. And him giving her a jazz name, Lils, connects her personally to this idea of language as music, rhythm, and feeling.
Her journal entry from this day captures the essence. Today I got lost and found a musician. He told me English is like jazz. You just need to feel the rhythm.
And the broader realization, the world is full of teachers, you just have to listen. It underscores that learning opportunities are everywhere if you're open to them.
Building on her growing confidence and understanding the music, Ava suggests a bold challenge.
Oh no, what now?
English conversation speed night.
Speed night. Lily's initial reaction is understandable. Fast chaos.
But she reminds herself of her commitment. Challenge myself. Embrace the awkward. Learn out loud.
So the setup is described like speed dating timed rounds of conversation with strangers, then switching partners.
She encounters a variety of speakers. Tanya is clear and easy, offering encouragement. Then comes Jake, who speaks really fast.
Okay, so this is a moment to put her strategies into practice.
Definitely. She has to ask him to repeat, and he's willing to slow down slightly. She picks up slang like legit, sick, savage, relying on tone and context to get the meaning.
It shows that interaction is a two-way street, and native speakers can adapt.
Exactly. She speaks with more partners. The Frenchman teaches her shoot the breeze. The woman from New Jersey tells a fast story. The source is honest. She struggles sometimes.
Asking, can you repeat that how many times?
20 times over the course of the night.
Wow. But the key is the reaction she gets.
People are patient. They smile. They call her brave. That positive reinforcement for just trying is invaluable. When the final bell rings, she's utterly exhausted, but also exhilarated and glowing.
She spoke with 10 strangers, didn't freeze, actively participated, asked questions, and laughed.
Her reply to Ava sums up the chaotic, amazing experience. Fast, wild, confusing, amazing.
And that crucial reflection. I did more than survive. I spoke, I asked, I laughed, and I didn't freeze.
Getting the sticker that says, "I talked my way through it," is a tangible symbol of her courage and victory. Her journal entry from this night is incredibly insightful, too.
What did she write?
Speed conversations are like jumping into cold water, but then you swim. She fully embraces the idea that the goal is not perfect comprehension, but staying in the conversation, being part of the flow.
She adds more slang to her list, recognizing that she's now living English fast, loud, and full of unexpected joy.
Okay, but the source saves the most terrifying challenge for near the end.
Let me guess. A phone call.
Bingo. An unexpected phone call from an unknown number. It's a potential job interview.
Oh, that is the ultimate test. Live English, real time, no visual cues, no subtitles, no chance to pause and Google.
The potential for panic is immense. But despite her nerves, she takes a deep breath and says, "Yes, sure, I have time."
Gutsy.
Very. She pushes through the initial questions, explaining why she applied, describing a project managing volunteers for a youth festival.
She has to pause sometimes, asks the interviewer to repeat herself once, but she keeps going.
The interviewer notes she's a strong communicator, which is already a huge compliment given her perceived struggle. But then comes the final, unexpected question.
The one that really tests her ability to think on her feet in real-time English.
What's something unique about you that we won't see on your resume?
The source notes she freezes for a moment, which is completely natural under pressure, especially in a non-native language.
But then she answers honestly.
And her honest answer is incredibly powerful because it encapsulates her entire journey, doesn't it?
Exactly. She talks about actively and quickly learning English, about embracing mistakes and asking questions, about studying daily, her drive to grow, and about not giving up when something is hard.
And the interviewer's reaction.
The ultimate validation. Honestly, I love that answer. It shows drive and courage. That matters more than perfect English.
Wow. That's the moment she realizes that her willingness to be vulnerable, to try to persevere everything she learned by facing fast English head on, is more valuable than flawless grammar or speed.
She gets the email inviting her for an in-person interview, and the source describes her exhaling this long, shaky breath, realizing she didn't just survive this terrifying test, she excelled at it by being authentic and brave.
Her journal entry after this moment is a powerful new motto. Today, I had my first real phone call in English. I was afraid, but I stayed calm. I didn't hang up. I answered. I kept going, and I was honest. And that was enough.
And the motto, she writes, don't wait until you're perfect. Answer anyway. That's a massive shift in perspective.
Fueled by the success, the source brings her back to the Peak Brooklyn Cafe, Bean and Bloom, to meet Ava's native friends again.
Round 2.
She's still a bit nervous about keeping up with their fast jokes and layered stories, and immediately she's right back in that warm, noisy wave of overlapping group chatter, hearing things like coffee and trauma pay.
But this time, she navigates it differently. A friend helps her understand the trauma pay phrase, showing she's comfortable asking even in this setting.
She follows topics like bad landlords and mouse sounds, laughing along even if she doesn't catch every single word.
The source notes there are still moments she gets lost, like during the Knicks game talk with terms like Brunson was straight up cooking or spin move.
She wants to jump in but feels she doesn't have the language yet.
And that's okay. Ava notices and offers quiet encouragement. Just listen. Jump in when you're ready.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that participation doesn't always mean speaking.
Sometimes it's about active, engaged listening, following the rhythm until you find an opening.
Sharing her phone interview experience turns the focus to her, and the whole table listens, impressed. They ask her questions, and importantly, they slow down for her.
That's a beautiful moment of inclusion and recognition. Telling her subway story again, people laughing kindly and telling her she speaks well, cements that feeling of belonging.
Her brain is tired from the effort, but she's happy and comfortable enough to agree to meet again. Her journal entry captures this progress.
Today I listened more than I spoke, but I laughed, I shared, and I understood more than I thought I would. That's progress.
She adds new phrases like cooking in the context of a player doing very well and trauma pay. She sees every interaction. Every cafe is a classroom. Every laugh is a lesson.
This brings her to the culmination of this part of her journey in the source, the in-person job interview with Mrs. Patel.
The big one. Nerves are still there, but she walks in prepared, remembering her lessons. Listen carefully. Ask when needed. Speak clearly, even as slowly at first.
The small talk with another applicant provides a final boost, the reminder that they want to know you, not a perfect English speaker.
Miss Patel is warm and welcoming, starting with more straightforward questions. Lily answers clearly, finding her rhythm.
As the questions become faster, more nuanced about strengths, handling difficult situations, teamwork, she focuses on listening carefully.
She uses her tool of asking, "Could you please repeat?" when necessary. And Miss Patel kindly repeats or rephrases. She feels her confidence growing.
Connecting her experience organizing the youth festival to questions about handling stress and deadlines. Then Mrs. Patel speeds up again, asking about adapting to last-minute changes.
This is the moment where all her training converges. She pauses, accesses her internal toolkit. Listen carefully. Stay flexible. Ask for clarity. Focus on solutions.
Her thoughtful, calm response earns Mrs. Patel's clear approval. Excellent. That's the attitude we need.
The interview ends, and the sense of relief is immense, but it's paired with profound pride, telling Ava, challenging, but I understood most. I stayed calm. I asked when I needed. I think I did well.
Which is an accurate assessment of her triumph. Her journal entry marks the breakthrough.
Today I faced fast English at its hardest, a real job interview. It was scary. Sometimes I struggled, but I listened, asked, and answered. I wasn't perfect, but I was brave, and that is progress. Looking out at the city lights, the source notes, she knows that fast English is no longer a barrier that can stop her dreams.
And the ultimate validation of her journey arrives the very next day.
The job offer.
What an incredible moment. The rush of excitement, calling Ava and celebrating at Bean and Bloom with friends who are now part of her New York life, including her new coworkers.
The source describes toasts to her courage, patience, and refusal to give up, sharing stories, laughing freely, and truly joining the fast conversations, even telling jokes herself.
The transformation is complete. She's not just listening to the music.
She's dancing in it.
There's a quiet moment outside later, a final journal entry reflecting on everything. Fast English no longer scares me. It's music, rhythm, and life.
Every step, every challenge has shaped me. This job is not just a start, it's a new chapter filled with endless possibilities. Closing the journal, ready for what's next.
The journey wasn't just about conquering a language hurdle. It fundamentally transformed her confidence, her connection to the city, and her sense of possibility.
This was, as she writes, just the beginning.
What a journey this source material laid out for us.
Yeah.
From that initial, overwhelming shock at arrival to navigating job interviews and truly participating in lively group conversations.
Yeah.
Lily's story makes it so clear that understanding fast English is far less about perfect grammar and much more about building resilience, practicing consistently, and prioritizing genuine human connection.
It really highlights how consistently exposing yourself to the authentic language, embracing the chaos of real-world interactions like the subway,
Right.
and crucially, allowing yourself to make mistakes and even finding humor in them are absolutely essential steps. It moves you past the fear of not being perfect towards the freedom of just participating.
The specific practical strategies Lily employed, like shadowing the rhythm of speakers, watching videos without the safety net of subtitles, consciously asking for clarification, and training her ear to focus on context, keywords, and the overall rhythm, rather than getting stuck on every single word. These aren't just theoretical points from the source.
No, they're powerful tools you can start implementing today.
And perhaps the most powerful takeaway, beautifully illustrated throughout the narrative, is recognizing that every single interaction, no matter how small or challenging,
Whether it's ordering coffee, getting lost and finding a street musician, or navigating a job interview.
right, every interaction is a valuable opportunity to learn and grow. As Charles the saxophonist put it, English, like jazz, has its own unpredictable rhythm.
And the goal isn't rigid perfection, but learning to feel that rhythm and move with it.
So as you reflect on Lily's story and her transformation, what aspect stands out most to you? What specific step can you take today to lean into the music of fast English, to embrace the unpredictability, and to jump into the conversation, even if it feels a little scary?
Keep listening, keep practicing.
And remember Lily's courage. Sometimes getting a little lost is exactly how you find your way forward.